Bruh. Bruh. I'm low-key supposed to be headed to bed. I got a show on the NBA Twitch channel tomorrow with Channing Frye. Low-key nervous because I've never talked to this guy in my life, have no clue what he's like. But I figured I'd at least go in well-rested. And instead, I'm sitting here trying to put together the pieces of the ridiculousness that I just watched. You know, on this show that we'll be doing live, it's called Getting in the Zone, we're not allowed to be negative towards the NBA or its players. We're not supposed to be negative, not supposed to say anything negative, not supposed to be controversial, I get that. Oh, but here I can be both of those things. I have no boundaries on this big, beautiful platform. It's not beautiful, but this big platform called YouTube. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and start with just being real, right? Let's just go ahead and be real about it. We can come to a simple agreement, whether you're a Bucks fan or a Nets fan or whatever fan you are. We can agree that Budenholzer should not coach the Milwaukee Bucks anymore if they are to lose this series. Even if they do win it and they go on and they go far, they would likely have to win the championship to avoid him being fired. Sorry, I meant convincingly. They would have to convincingly win the championship. I don't know if winning the title is enough. I feel bad. I shouldn't be on here like talking about some man losing his job and losing the way he feeds his family. He'll probably be alright. I mean, them coaching contracts are pretty fat. You should probably be good, but there's just certain things where you look at a job and you say, okay, there should be certain qualifications. And this is the third straight year I've watched this thing happen. Budenholzer is not the entire problem with the Bucks, but Budenholzer is a big problem with the Bucks. I think we'll get back to that. First of all praise. That's the part I can do on a live show. Kevin Durant just had one of the greatest performances I've ever watched live. And the lead up to it is what makes it so special, because there was this spectrum, right? There was people like me that were looking and saying, okay, they've lost their two stars. Even if one of them plays, neither of them can be much more than a decoy. KD himself is coming back from an Achilles. So I started to believe that if they put him out there and he's getting trapped constantly and he's seeing two people on every shot, off of an Achilles with nobody else to really space the floor for him, no other star to space the floor. Yeah, I was saying he probably won't be able to give you some all-time performance. I'm not really expecting it because I think the Achilles comes into play there. So when you've got Kyrie on the floor and you can just kind of go to work on one guy, yeah, sure, I could see it then. But in a game against a contending Bucks squad who has made their name on defense the entire year, I was like, all right, if it doesn't happen tonight, I can see why. And then the other part of the spectrum was the narratives, the Nick Wrights of the world. Oh, Kevin Durant can't do this without a star. He can't play without other stars. He can't be the man. Well, I'm just be real with you. This is one of those times where you just take your L. If you were on the interwebs for the last 48 hours, being loud and boisterous about how Kevin Durant couldn't be the best player on a team, or could you win a championship as a number one, with him as a number one, how LeBron has done this numerous times, even though really LeBron's had great games against teams that were stacked and ended up losing. He hasn't so much really beat a contending team with nobody else around him. That's a different story. Long story short, if you were saying that Kevin Durant isn't this guy that he showed he was tonight, you just gotta shut the fuck up. I don't mean that in a malicious way. I don't mean that in a mean way. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. You just gotta shut the fuck up. For a second, right? It's peaceful. It's bliss. Sometimes when you just shut the fuck up, ideas come to you, things happen in your life, things fall into place. It can be a very liberating experience. And you just have to find it within yourself to shut the fuck up. For 24 hours at least. Because the man just put out a near 50-point triple-double, playing every minute of a Game 5 against a team that people thought were about to come and mud stomp them again, with his best options being James Harden, who could barely run up and down the floor, and Jeff Green, who, by the way, I told y'all he mattered. Every time they beat the Bucks, I said it was without James Harden and Jeff Green. I had people telling me Jeff Green doesn't make a difference. Look, I know he's not going to shoot like Ray Allen every night, but if you watch the Nets at all this year, you would have known he made a difference. He made a difference on both ends tonight, an impact on the defensive end, and was pretty much the second best offensive player on that end. And there's no walking this back. Harden, if you watched this game, Harden was a decoy. Yeah, he had 8 assists, sure, he still had his vision, but on offense, all of his shots missed the exact same way. He tried his side steps, he tried his step backs, he tried his bombs, they all missed off the front of the rim because he's playing on one leg. On defense, he was a total liability, which that's part where I go to the coaching. The fact that they were not attacking Harden, as much as they were isoing, the fact that they were not attacking Harden as much as humanly possible, I can't believe it. There was a play where Giannis was backing down Harden, and Harden is a good low post defender. He's a strong low post defender. But right now, he's got the first aid medical sign under him for injury. And so when Giannis turned around and took a fadeaway, I don't know, man. When Drew Holiday was on the left wing and he had Harden in front of him, he took a step back three instead of trying to blow by and maybe creating an opportunity for somebody else. I don't know, bro. I will say this until for however long I have a platform. I don't know more basketball than the people that play it. I've never been better at any of these guys in basketball. But some moves I don't understand. Let's talk about the one that's been spanning years, which is Giannis dribbling the ball at the top of the key, at the top of the floor. All right. During the regular season, he's going to get tons of numbers. In transition, yeah, he's very hard to stop like that. We are one Milwaukee Bucks loss away from proving that this just does not win a championship, no matter who you have around him. For all this James Harden injury talk, there was a particular play where Giannis was dribbling up the floor, he had Harden in front of him, but the Nets simply built a wall, so he couldn't even attack Harden on that bad leg if he wanted to. He could have, but he would have just ran into a wall and probably turned it over. Whatever would have happened, right? This is not a good enough strategy in the playoffs. One of the things coming into this series we said was that the Nets do not have the same defensive assets to build a wall successfully as other teams have, the Raptors and the Heat, and while they aren't doing it as successfully, at points that matter in the game, they can do things to slow him down. Go find a podcast or a video where I talked about this. I said Giannis can average 30 or 35 points, but it's going to come down to those last few plays where it's under a minute and maybe you're a possession down, and all of a sudden you're trying to score with Giannis taking the ball up, or maybe even just a Giannis post up, in which case he can just get fouled like he did and miss some free throws. Look, things have a tendency to age poorly. Maybe the Bucks will make adjustments and they'll go super hard at Harden in game 6. Maybe they'll come back and win this series and they will beat the Nets. I don't really know how it's going to shake out right now, but this is one of the worst losses I've seen, and everything about their scheme over the last few years, it came out in this loss. Oh, it's all part of the scheme. That's why Giannis isn't defending Kevin Durant at all. Why? Okay, maybe foul trouble or something. Is that what you're saying? You don't want Giannis to pick up fouls on KD? All right, then just watch him snatch all the momentum for your team and hit every single jump shot that he takes. He's shooting over people from the three-point line and hitting on TV it looks like a contested three. To him, that's probably not actually a contested three. Maybe put some height on him. Giannis don't have to foul him, just contest them. But it's part of the scheme, so Giannis is going to sit in the corner, or he's going to play from the wing and maybe get a block on a backdoor cut one time in the game. How big was the Bucks' biggest lead tonight? They were almost up 20, right? I'm going to say it was like 16 or 17. They were up there. They were ready to pull away. There is no way in the hell. Generational talent be damned. There's no way the Bucks should have lost this game. There were simple things. Once the Nets went to the same play 3 times in a row where Kevin Durant called for a screen and got Brook Lopez switched on him, and I'm pretty sure it scored 3 times in a row, that should have been the end of it. Brook Lopez should not have seen another minute on that floor. KD was actually giving up open 3-pointers to go hit a mid-range on a drop coverage Brook Lopez. Why was Brook Lopez in drop coverage with Kevin Durant handling the ball at the top of a pick and roll? I cannot coach a basketball team. There's no way that a coach has not thought of the things that I'm saying right now. It's not possible. These are very simple things. It's not possible. He's thought of these things. I always see all this Twitter analysis and, oh, this team should do this and they should do that. I know these guys, all the coaches up there, it's not just Budenholzer, there's assistant coaches. I know they thought of these things. They've talked about them. I don't know why it turns out the way it does. Why they pick the options that they do. If anything short of the Bucks winning a championship happens this year, they have to stop having Giannis handle the ball at the top. It actually makes it harder. You know, there's times where Giannis isn't on the floor, and God no, the Bucks are not a better team without Giannis on the floor. But there are times where he's not on the floor, and I'm like, uh-oh. You know, Milwaukee's actually a little bit harder to guard now because they have shooting at every position. They're going to do some different things. But when you essentially have a guy with a center skill set and some guard skills, right? But the downfalls of a center handling the ball at the top, it makes the game kind of easy. This is particularly why I wanted the Bucks to have Chris Paul so bad this summer. Because believe it or not, I'm cheering for Giannis' success. I want to see all these young guys get their due. I wanted them to have Chris Paul so bad so they can have somebody orchestrate offense, and so that at important times they would not have to be dealing with a Giannis fadeaway or an ISO somewhere else, or him just pounding the ball at the top and maybe trying to get past Blake Griffin, and then he didn't do it the first time, so he backs out and then tries it again. I can't imagine. If they win a championship like that, I will be dumb fucking founded. If the Bucks win the championship this year, I will be dumb fucking founded, because there are times where the game gets tight, adversity hits, and their offense just becomes question marks on a clipboard. That it just happens that way, bro. Either way, this is aside from one of the most legendary performances I've ever watched. I don't even know how much Harden sat tonight, right? Harden forced himself to play when I knew he was. I pretty much knew this was the Harden we were going to get. When I saw him in 20 minutes go from, what was that, doubtful to play? Sorry, he was just out. He was just out, then he went to doubtful to questionable to he's playing. I saw that happen in about the span of 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, so we're going to get Harden basically just jogging tonight. And that's what happened. On defense, there was multiple people that blew by him because he just could not move laterally, but he gave what he could. Kevin Durant picked up the other 95 to 97%. That's not, I'm talking about between the duo. This is not to discount Jeff Green. Jeff Green had amazing contributions. And if you're the Bucks, you just, this is a confidence blow, man. This is a big confidence blow, because you got to look at this and go, man, this is the ragtag version of the team that we're supposed to be playing. They're supposed to have a healthy Harden and a healthy Kyrie out there. But if you want to say, okay, well, nobody cares because that's an unfair super team, okay, they were at least supposed to have 2 of those 3 healthy. They don't even have that. And you blew this lead, you're on the brink of elimination, and there's just no way you should have lost this. Simple scheming things could have had Milwaukee up 20, which, by the way, I had seen that about halftime. I tweeted that out. I was like, or the first quarter, whenever it was, I was like, if there's a positive here, it's that Brooklyn is only down 14. They were hanging around ever so slightly until KD just really turned up, and he had help, but in a way, he did this himself tonight. He didn't do it himself, but he also did do it himself. Man, bro, things have... I'm pretty much done here, if you're wondering. Just things have got to change in Milwaukee. There's somebody brought up a good point and said that the Bucks in this little contending era so far from 2019 to 2021, where Giannis was supposed to have made some big run, they don't have a truly impressive playoff win yet. They've done nothing but beat teams that they were supposed to beat. Their most impressive playoff win is between a 49-win Celtics team that was chemistry-wise in complete shambles, and the Miami Heat this year, because they lost to them last year and people were saying, oh, well, the Miami Heat, they might be a challenge this year. Maybe you don't want to play them in the first round. And after a tight game 1, they came out and mentally destroyed them the rest of the series. So those are impressive in their own ways, but they do not have a series win yet where it's like, oh, man, I don't know if they can beat this team. This is going to be really tough for them. They haven't won one of those series yet. In 2019, that was the Raptors for them. They failed. In 2020, it was the Heat for them. They failed. In 2021, it's about to be the Nets. In this series, they were the underdog in 2 there were injuries. Then it became they should close this out. When we saw that it's just KD out there, who, by the way, that's the one part I probably didn't mention, you can throw tougher coverage at. I'm not just talking about softly blitzing a pick and roll. I'm talking about traps and help from the weak side to cover who's open, rotations. You can do other things than watch him shoot over inferior defenders. Because there was one play, it might have been in the 4th quarter, where KD catches the ball in the mid-range area on the left side, and I saw the paint so wide open, and I saw one defender on him. And I told my brother, I said, this is 2 points. I don't know how it's 2 points, it's 2 points. A couple seconds later, he rises up, it's an icy mid-range jump shot. There was no pressure. For a guy that had scored, almost half of Brooklyn's points tonight, there was no real pressure. Incredible, and just incredible, man. Incredible loss from the Bucks, and not in a good way. Incredible win, and incredible performance from Kevin Durant. Seriously, I think a lot of people have forgotten why they were so mad that KD went to Golden State. It was because of how easy he was going to make things. So just because he hadn't been playing with bums his whole life and winning with ragtag teams in the Western Conference, I think people forgot that, quite frankly, they forgot 2014 when he won the MVP without Russell Westbrook playing most of the season. That was when he had like Reggie Jackson playing with him, and he saw just some of the toughest defensive coverage I've seen. I'm talking double teams, traps, all that, and he was efficiently hitting some of the toughest shots I've seen, and people just acted like that never happened. So instead of coming into tonight and saying, oh, Kevin Durant might not be able to get you a win because maybe the effects of an Achilles are going to be tough to go through against a defensive juggernaut without other stars, they said Kevin Durant is not in that tier of player that can do that. That was a mistake. You just got to live with that out, man. And shut the fuck up. Just for 24 hours, bro. Just for 24 hours. Learning how to take an L is a skill. But there is still one more game left to win. And Brooklyn very well might take an L because it took an all-time performance from Kevin Durant to win this game by a couple of points. So the series is in no way, shape, or form over. It's just that all the momentum lies with Brooklyn and all the bad coaching lies with the Bucks. So the Nets more than likely feel like they can go close this out, or they can close it out in Brooklyn with the 7th game. KD knows that he can get whatever he wants if Giannis is not going to guard him. If there's not going to be any adjustments, then the Nets feel like they can win this series, quite obviously. But there's still, again, one more win left, so let me know what you think in the comment section. Yes, at the beginning, that was not a joke. I am going to be on a show live on the Twitch channel at 6 p.m. Eastern with Channing Frye talking about the playoffs. We're going to do it one time a week until the NBA Finals, so that should be pretty fun. I would imagine at some point we'll be talking about this KD performance. Obviously, that was not on the show notes today. Didn't happen until tonight, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, be there. I'll send reminders out and all that on Twitter. That's also a good place to follow me. And let me know in the comment section what you think is going to happen for the rest of this series. Hit the like button and sub if you enjoyed, and hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications every time a new video drops. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.